Hi, everybody. I wanted to give you a chance to learn about some of the transfer and general education basics through this slide deck. And this is going to help because you're going to do some assignments around major course planning, general education. You are going to work with me to draft an educational plan, and you're going to do a transfer research paper this week. So I'm going to go ahead and just dive in here on my slides. Excuse me. So first off, I think it's helpful to know what types of degrees you can earn in a college. I assume most of you have earned your high school degree or GED. And at West Valley College, what you can do is you can earn either an associate's degree for transfer, or a certificate. Those typically take between 2 to 3 years and are approximately 60 units. Next in line in terms of degrees would be a bachelor's degree. Those typically are earned at what we would call a four-year university, and they can take 4, sometimes 5 years. You typically cannot earn one of these at West Valley College or community colleges. Something to note is that you do not typically need to have an associate's degree to get a bachelor's degree. You can simply just transfer from us. And the bachelor's degree is about 120 units, and you'll see the associate's degree or transfer is 60, so you're roughly halfway there after you transfer from West Valley College. Beyond a bachelor's degree are graduate degrees. You'll see down here a master's degree, a doctorate degree, and then other types of professional degrees that you maybe have heard of, an MD, a medical degree, a JD, which is typically related to law, a DDS, which would be like a dentist and a vet. So typically, students can go straight from the bachelor's into either a master's or a doctorate or a professional degree, and it often depends on your career goals and what you're looking to do. Moving along, I wanted to share, because I think this is a part that can get confusing for people, a transfer plan. And I'm going to click through here real quick. So transfer, just like getting any degree, is going to be at minimum 60 units. And you're going to hear that number come up quite a bit. Hint, hint, it's probably on our quiz. A typical full-time student does at least 12 units at minimum. And if you did 12 units in the fall and spring, you'd be roughly at 24 units, and 2 years would be 48. Part of the reason why we have this slide on here is it's common for students to want to transfer in 2 years, but very common also that students transfer in 3. There can be different reasons for that. You may be busy with work. You may find that the workload of 15 or more units doesn't work for you, or you may have a lot of what are called prerequisites or courses that are required to get into additional ones, depending on the school you want to go to and your major. So this is also true if you want an associate's degree. It's not just for transfer students. So again, any goal that you have here probably is going to take at minimum 60 units. From West Valley College, you can transfer to tons of great places. So as you can see on my screen here, there are UC or University of California options. There are CSU or California State University options. There are tons of private schools and even out-of-state options as well. And you can transfer to all of these types of schools from West Valley College. I'm going to focus a little bit more today on the UC and CSU because they have really specific agreements that are called articulation agreements with West Valley College. So something to note is there are 9 UCs that you can transfer to. There's actually a 10th one. It's UCSF or UC San Francisco, but that's at the graduate level, so you can only do a master's or an MD there, so you're not able to transfer from West Valley College. There are 9 UCs, 4 in Northern California and another 5 in Southern California. The CSU or California State University system typically does have 23 universities within that system, and you'll see there are schools all over Northern, Central, and Southern California. One of the degree types that you can get from West Valley College is called an associate degree for transfer. This is a collaboration with the California State Universities, and it's a great option if we have the degree that matches your major or intended transfer degree, and it fits the curriculum for the type of school that you're going for. And what do I mean by that? What I mean is the associate degree for transfer is really optimized for the CSU or California State Universities, and it may not hit all of the things that you need for the UC. Again, through this class, I hope that we get to meet one-on-one and talk a little bit more about your individual goals. But what you'll see here, you need to do a minimum of 60 units, have a minimum 2.0 GPA, and then you'll do coursework as well as GE courses and possibly electives. The coursework and GE courses that you see right here are going to be 2 assignments this week. And the goal is not to overwhelm you with information, but to have you interact with it. And I'm not looking for perfection. Some other benefits of the associate degree for transfer are you would get priority admission to certain schools. In some cases, you even get a zero point 0.1 GPA boost for admission, which can be helpful. And a really cool thing is that you typically can get priority registration and have um, at minimum, or sorry, at maximum 60 units left when you get to a CSU campus. Here's an example of some of the associate degrees for transfer that we have at West Valley College. If you see your intended major on this list, great. And if you don't see it on here, that's okay. We can still look for different options, or what we may find is that you can get to what you need. You can get the required courses done by doing an associate's degree for transfer. I'm going to work with each of you individually on this piece, though. I'm going to transition to out-of-state and out-of-state public and private universities. Many schools accept transfers with fewer than 60 units. So that's where that magic 60 units goes away. Often, in fact, out-of-state and private schools typically look for roughly 24 units. They can have sliding GPAs between 2.0 and 4.0, and they have varying course requirements. So that's why I didn't focus too much on these because they're really individual, whereas the UC and CSU are a little bit more uniform in terms of what they're looking for. If you're in this class because you're trying to find a major, that's great. And if you're in this class and you've had a major but you're having some doubts, that's certainly fine too. If you're in one of these camps, what I would suggest that you do is when you're taking classes, focus on general ed courses, choosing classes that sound interesting to you. You can also meet with a counselor, and you and I can discuss how we might take some classes that count for general education in possible areas that you want to go towards, and do it with intention so that we're still moving you efficiently to a goal of completing a degree or transferring. One of the things that you're going to do is decide which general education pattern you should use. And I think on my next slide, I have an example of something called CalGETC, which we'll get into in a second. But I wanted to share this slide because there are some things that are changing starting in fall 2025. So if you were starting in fall 2025, the CalGETC general education pattern is great because it can be used for students transferring to the UC, students transferring to the CSU, and it can be even used for our local associate degrees. But the CalGETC is going to be the one that will allow you to reach any goal. Since you're currently enrolled in the 2024-25 via the summer class, you can use either the CSUGE or iGETC. And the CSUGE, the thing about it is got classes on it that will only it's got some classes on it that will only transfer to a CSU. So if you were for sure knowing that you wanted to transfer to, say, San Jose State or San Francisco State, and there's no question about it, you could use the CSUGE. But if you're not 100% sure, I would focus on using either the iGETC or CalGETC. The great news about this is if you start down the path of following one general ed pattern and things change, you simply can change, and most of these patterns have a high level of overlap. We do also have a local general education pattern if you're looking to simply do an associate degree with us. And you'll interact with this material in an assignment this week. What I wanted to do is briefly go through one general education pattern so that you can use this for a couple of things. One will be for your assignment, and two, just so you have a chance to see it. So what you'll see is the general education pattern, or this one called CalGETC, which just simply stands for California General Education Transfer Curriculum, is is important for a couple reasons. Number one, this means that any California public school, any UC or CSU, if you take classes on this list, you know that for sure 100% they will transfer to any CSU or UC. Number two, there are some important things that you should know in terms of required courses. But I'm going to walk you through this a little bit before we get into that. So what you'll see is there's a lot of text here, and I'm going to help you really figure out the most important pieces so that it's not so overwhelming. So what you'll see up here is there are some important things to know. Number one, you'll see that number again, 60 transferable units, and these would be part of that. Number two, for CalGETC, you do need to have a C or higher in every one of these classes for them to count. So those are really important to do. And then also what we're going to see is there are different areas. So for instance, area one has English and communication, and you would simply complete one course from 1A, one course from 1B, and one course from 1C. Excuse me. So you see some areas like 1A, there's only one choice. So everyone would take this class, English C 1000, or if you've taken it before, it was formerly called English 1A. Group B here, 1B, you could take any of these courses, English 1B, English C 1001. If you were in the honors program, any class that has an H on it, like these, would work, or Philosophy 3 or 17. This particular section requires you to successfully complete the English course here first. Group 1C is oral communication, and right now the main course that you would take is COM C 1000 or Introduction to Public Speaking. Moving on to area two, mathematical concepts and quantitative reasoning. The biggest thing I would say here is that your major probably will predetermine the type of math that you need. So for instance, some majors may require calculus or multiple calculus classes. Some majors may require a class like Stats 1000, which is very common. And some majors may say, we don't care. There's no required math, and you could choose the one that is the best fit for you. Moving along to area three. Area three is a little bit um, sometimes confusing for people. So what you want to do is make sure that you pay attention to the bold lettering here. So you'll see area one course from each. Area two, simply one course for general education. And then area three, arts and humanities, you're going to do two courses. So you're going to do one from the arts, that's group 3A, and one from group 3B. And I'm going to come back to that slide that I just skipped in a second. So you'll see lots of different options. This is highlighted because this would be a smart class to take here if you're transferring to one of these, transferring to the CSUs, because these are part of a graduation requirement. Area 4, social and behavioral sciences, you need 6 units. Typically, 2 courses are required. But in here, it's really important. You need 2 academic disciplines. So let me give you an example. Business or economic students typically have to do microeconomics in Econ 1A and macroeconomics Econ 1B. But if you were to do those 2 economics classes, you would still need to take an additional class in Area 4 in order to complete the general education area. I'm also highlighting Polls C1000, American Government and Politics, because the Polls C1000 and the history class that I showed earlier were 2 classes that would give you an additional graduation requirement should you go to a California State University. And what that really means is you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone by doing these classes as your GE in anticipation of going to the CSU. Area 5 is the physical and biological sciences. You'll see there are 7 semester units that are needed and 2 courses, but you'll see here there's 3 areas. So the way this one works is you'll complete one from 5A, one from 5B, and at least 1 course must be a lab, and that will give you 5C. So even though there's 3 boxes, if we make the right choices, you'll only take 2 classes. So how do you do that? Any class that's underlined here, like Bio 10 plus Lab, Bio 11, or Geology 1A as an example, are laboratory classes. So let's just give you an example. Let's say you took Geology 1A and Anthropology 1 for 5A and 5B. Geology 1A would count for 5A and 5C, and Anthropology would count for 5B. And there are quite a few examples here with more detail. And in your assignments this week, you'll have a chance to explore these options. And really, it's just generating a draft of a list for the assignment so that you're interacting with this material. Area 6 is ethnic studies. You'll see a variety of options here, and you just need 1 class. So you'd pick one from here. And then Area 7 is the language other than English. So this is an area that gets a little confusing for people, so I'm going to spend a little bit of time here. There are multiple ways that you could satisfy this area. Number 1, you simply take a class from here. Anything here. Number 2, you could use 2 years of high school coursework. So if you took 2 years of Spanish or French or Japanese or German, and got a C or higher throughout that time, that would satisfy it. Maybe you took a Spanish AP, that could satisfy that. Um, you could even satisfy it by if you were in school after 6th grade and you studied for 2 years abroad where the language of instruction was not English, that could satisfy it. And obviously, some of these examples get really specific. So if any of these come up for you, or if you have questions when we meet individually, I'm happy to go over your specific situation in a little bit more detail. So these are the main things that I wanted to highlight. So when we're looking at general education, though, there's 2 more things that I wanted to go back to. Number 1, this is one of the many patterns that we have. This one's called CalGEDC. We also have our local West Valley GE, the iGEDC, and the CSU GE. You're going to see more of that in a specific assignment, so I don't want to overwhelm you too much. But here's something that I want you to be aware of. So there are some minimum requirements for transfer. So for the California State University system, you must have 60 units and you must have something called the Golden Four. And the Golden Four would be these 4 classes: the English composition, critical thinking or second English, oral communication, and one transfer level math. So one, two, three, four. They're called the golden four because you're not allowed to transfer without completing all four of these. The UC, highly similar, but slightly different. The UC requires something called the seven course pattern. The seven course pattern is going to be similar. It's going to be Area 1A, English composition, Area 1B, critical thinking English composition, Area 2, math. So we've got three classes there. And then what we have to do is we have to take a total of four classes from areas 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7. So again, it would be the two English, the math, and then a total of four more classes from those areas. And you must have at least two different areas hit. So let me give you an example. Let's say you're a biology major and you are going to take biology 11, human biology, biology 45, microbiology, biology 47, anatomy, and biology 48, physiology. So you've taken four classes, so that would total the seven. But because they're all in one area, we would need to take one more class. So we might take a class in area 4 or a class in area 3. I don't expect you to memorize all this, but what I do want you to do is have the opportunity to interact with this material and have a better understanding of it. So when you meet with a counselor, you meet with me, um, you have a chance to ask better questions and have a good understanding of what's required for you for transfer. That's what I have today. As always, please come see me via the Zoom office hours. Send me a message via email or Canvas. I am happy to help and look forward to working with you. Take care.